Coming up on Network Africa, the International Criminal Court (ICC) convicts militia leaders from the Central African Republic for crimes against humanity. Concern in the Sahel region as Russia expands military footprint with shift from Wagner to state-controlled Africa Corps. Plus, the second UN Tourism and International Civil Aviation Organization conference ends in Angola with calls for unity among African nations. Hello and welcome to the program, the last episode for the week. I'm Layo Olarinde. Two former leaders of the anti-Balaka militia in the Central African Republic, Alfred Yekatom and Patrice Eduardo Ngwausona, have been sentenced by the International Criminal Court (ICC), and it's for their roles in a wave of violence that swept the country between 2013 and 2014. Both men are to serve 15 and 12 years in prison, respectively. The court found them guilty of war crimes and crimes against humanity, including murder, torture and persecution committed during militia attacks in Bangui, the Lobaye prefecture and other areas in the country. Alfred Yekatom, a former army officer and parliamentarian known by nicknames such as Rambo, was said to have commanded around 3,000 fighters. He was found responsible for crimes in Bangui and Gambula. Patrice Ngwausona, once thought to be the most senior leader and national general coordinator of the anti-Balaka, was convicted of aiding and abetting Yekatom's crimes. This landmark case marks one of the first major convictions related to CAR's bloody conflicts and activities of the anti-Balaka militia that was formed to protect Christian communities during the country's civil war, but was later accused of widespread atrocities.
I will now pronounce the joint sentences for the accused on behalf of the Chamber. Mr. Yekatom, please rise. Mr. Yekatom, having considered all the relevant factors for the determination of the sentence, the Chamber sentences you to a total of 15 years of imprisonment. You may sit down. Mr. Ngwausona, please rise. Mr. Ngwausona, having considered all the relevant factors for the determination of the sentence, the Chamber sentences you to a total of 12 years of imprisonment. You may sit down.
A major shift is said to be underway in the Sahel region as Russia officially replaces the Wagner Group with a new state-controlled force known as the Africa Corps. According to a new report by the Timbuktu Institute, this marks a turning point in Moscow's military and diplomatic strategy in the region. The deployment, announced just a day after Wagner's withdrawal from Mali, signals a move from covert operations to an overt state-backed presence. The report is titled Russian Repositioning in the Sahel from Wagner to Africa Corps. And unlike Wagner, Africa Corps is fully controlled by the Russian state and tied to military intelligence. The report calls this the end of plausible deniability. Well, analysts say this could redefine regional power dynamics and influence, especially for the future of the Sahel region that's already grappling with terrorism, insurgency, and military governance. Well, let's discuss this further. Joining us now on the program is Defense and Security Analyst Dixon Osaji for more on this. Thank you for joining us on Network Africa.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. Well, we're seeing Russia replace Wagner with this new state-run force, Africa Corps. In your opinion, how significant is this shift, particularly what it says about Moscow's long-term ambitions in the Sahel?
Oh, thank you very much. I think Moscow are trying to, have a grip, within the Sahel region, and this is going to cause a serious issue between Moscow and the West, because we can all see, I think Africa is being recolonized with this tactical positioning by the Russian Federation. The Wagner Group of the board, immediately their boss was killed or died, and they have now transitioned into the African core, and the reason why
We seem to be having audio issues with our guest. We'll try and reconnect with him. Let's move on to other stories. It's a new chapter for Africa's tourism and aviation sectors as the second UN Tourism and International Civil Aviation Organization Ministerial Conference on Tourism and Air Transport in Africa ends in Angola, and it's with a bold call for greater integration, stronger partnerships and united action among African countries. Ministers and global stakeholders say the future of Africa's connectivity, economic growth and global tourism standing lies in how well the continent can collaborate across borders and beyond barriers. Our senior correspondent Kingsley Urant, who was at the conference, now reports.
Promote visa facilitation.
For 3 solid days, they dug into their business, creative and professional experience to hammer out solutions to the missing link between tourism and air transportation in Africa.
In aviation, it's like chicken and egg. No, if you don't have planes, you don't have tourists. If you don't have tourists, you don't have planes. Demand is here. All participants mentioned that the population of Africa is growing. Economically, Africa is one of the growing continents in the world. When people are getting better, what they want first is to travel, and demand is there.
Do you think this strong contingent is taken back to Nigeria from here?
What I have seen here is strong collaboration. We can sit and talk without the synergy and the enablement, that power to wanting to get all the policies that have been put in place to actually be implemented. So that, and then the use of technology, because while we want our airspace open and all that, we need to ensure that security, higher security is in place, because that is one of the things I have really picked up here.
The panel discussion teased out critical views and areas that require urgent attention in advancing the sectors and building a sustainable synergy. The issues at stake required high-level participation, as exemplified by the presence of ministers of tourism and transportation in Africa and the Secretary General of the UN Tourism, Zurab Pololikashvili, whose term ends in December this year. Although Africa recorded 74 million international arrivals in 2024, a 12% increase over 2023 and 7% more than 2019, there was an increased urgency for integrated transport tourism strategies. Elsia Grandcourt, Regional Director of Africa in the UN Tourism, captured and presented the ministerial declaration this way.
The ministers have also emphasized the need to facilitate intra-African travel, strengthen the conditions for peace and understanding between peoples through simplified visa regimes, reduced fees, fast-track procedures, and longer validity multi-entry visas.
To the delegates, a few backslaps and good handshakes signified a fulfilling outcome of the conference.
We've achieved the objectives, but as has been said here, now we need to really apply ourselves and get to work.
There are a strong political will, even if we don't have, as a ministers of tourism, a lot of money to implement it, but we have a strong will and we have a strong connection and commitment within the ministries of tourism to definitely change the face of tourism in Africa.
In essence, the conference solidified our shared vision, leveraging tourism and air transport as twin engines of inclusive, sustainable growth in Africa. Angola as a host has positioned itself as key future player, energized by major national investments and partnerships with the UN Tourism and International Civil Aviation Organization. Kingsley Urant, Channels Television News.
Well, let's head back to our discussion for today. Russia expanding its military footprint in the Sahel region. We have Dixon Osaji, a security expert, back with us. We've now heard that, Wagner is no longer Wagner. It's now the Africa Corps. It may be new in name, but it reportedly inherits Wagner's legacy, which is not particularly blameless in its actions. Shouldn't West African governments be concerned about this?
Exactly, fantastic question. I strongly advise that the West African continent countries should be worried, and the African nations as well should be worried, because I think this invasion of our territorial spaces in the African race, because I see this as a tactical colonization of the African people, because where we are now is not what we should be expecting the Russian to, interfere within the African community. We have the African Union that's solely responsible to take charge of any security issues or across board. Before Wagner was taken out, they've committed a lot of, atrocities, extrajudicial killings has been credited to the Wagner Group, and now the African Corps being established by the Russian Federation so that they'll be able to control these people in a legitimate form, and also have a comprehensive resource control within these guys. I think it's for their own objective, and I tell you that the Russian Federation will not do this for free. There's always a price to pay. They will want to have something in return from the Sahel region, which consists of Mali, Burkina Faso, and another one or two countries. But I do not agree to this, these issues or this disturbing situation. The African Union should start looking at having an emergency meeting to resolve whatever the issue may be, and also take control of the security and the territorial space of the African continent, and also engage the terrorist group that are disturbing the territorial space of the African continent and cut it off. We are capable, we have the capability, we have the military forces, and we have every resource control to take charge of our security within the African region. But I do not expect the African Union to keep silent on this. They must go back to the drawing board. And for the West, I think it's going to draw a rivalry between France and the United States, because they are also interested in taking control of this territory. But I would strongly advise that this time around we should wake up so that we don't have a second colonization of the African territory.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Mr. Dixon Osaji, Defense and Security Analyst. Thank you for your time on our program.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon.
At the African Continental Free Trade Area Conference held in Johannesburg, South Africa, members of the Executive Council MEC for Economic Development in Gauteng are highlighting the immense potential AFCFTA holds for boosting intra-Africa trade. However, there are also concerns that have been raised over what is described as a lack of real commitment by some African leaders in driving the agreement forward. Our South Africa correspondent Innocent Samosa has more.
At the African Continental Free Trade Area AFCA Conference underway in Johannesburg, Gauteng MEC for Economic Development, Lebohang Maile, has reiterated the transformative potential of the free trade agreement in driving intra-African trade and industrialization.
You need to have infrastructure, because if it's difficult for goods and for people to move with ease within the continent, there is no point of talking about free trade. There is no point of talking about intra-Africa trade. So countries have to be deliberate.
However, Maile did not shy away from expressing concern over what he called a lack of genuine commitment from some African leaders in turning the AFTA vision into tangible progress.
No, unfortunately, I don't think there's enough commitment from African leaders. I think there's just a lot of talk. And if there was to be a commitment, and in fact, if everyone was to do just the barest minimum, I think we can move miles. We can make huge progress because Africa is endowed with a lot of mineral resources. And if we were to just convert those, process them, and increase our manufacturing capacity.
I believe we still have a long way to go, and there's a lot of low-hanging fruit that can be tackled, especially when it comes to your logistics. Also reducing the reliance of cargo using road transport and investing more into rail and as well as other related infrastructure. So I believe there's a lot that can be done, and there's a lot of options that can be used, financial instruments to fund the investment in infrastructure that's vital for economic progress.
Indeed, there's a call for stronger political will, policy alignment, and infrastructure investment to ensure the agreement delivers inclusive growth across the continent. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Innocent Samosa, Channels Television News.
We'll take a break now on the program. Still to come. On our Africa Tech segment, we witness young minds at work learning how to use artificial intelligence for good at the STEM Africa Fest. Please join us again. Welcome to our Africa Tech segment. In Côte d'Ivoire, dozens of students are taking agriculture to the next level by creating robots that can help work on the farms and fields. It's a competition that's part of a broader trend aimed at integrating technology into agriculture in the world's top cocoa producing country.
Stopwatch in hand, dozens of Ivory Coast students race against the clock to design robots for the farms of the future in the world's top cocoa-producing nation. With each team facing off to draw up the best bot blueprint, the competition is part of a broader push to tempt the West African nation's large population of young people disillusioned with farming life back to the plow. Though farming has long been the pillar of Ivory Coast economy, many young Ivorians have turned their backs on fruit picking and tree felling, discouraged by the hard labor and the slow pace of progress.
I come from a family of farmers, and my passion for robotics has actually added to my desire to improve the conditions in which my parents used to farm.
On a rival team several meters away, a fellow student fears that Ivorian farming risks dying out with time if modern technologies aren't adopted. Dominated by the cultivation of cocoa, rubber, and cashew nuts, nearly half of Ivorians with jobs work in agriculture in one way or another. Yet the country's farms have been slow to modernize. According to the National Center for Agronomic Research, less than 30% of farms are mechanized. And although 3/4 of Ivorians are under the age of 35, the sector is struggling to refresh an aging workforce. Surrounded by a flurry of tiny white robots on their circuit rounds, this digital transformation engineer says he's seen a real enthusiasm from young people for bringing agriculture into the 21st century.
Today, when we talk about agriculture 4.0, we are referring to agriculture that has been improved and enhanced through new technology such as robots, drones, artificial intelligence, data processing, and AI, which will enable farmers to have greater controls over their harvest, better monitoring of their activities, and better information. AI will also enable them to anticipate diseases, better or worse seasons. These are the kind of demands we are seeing.
Young people have not wholly given up on farming, just on the old way of tilling the land. At the Ivorian Digital Transition Ministry, the Director of Innovation and Private Sector Partnership says it's seen a boom in agricultural startups. Most of them were founded by young people.
Normally, it takes at least 2 days to cover 1 hectare. So with the drone, I see that we have sprayed 5 hectares. I don't know how long it took, but it was no more than 2 hours.
The agri-tech trend mirrors what's already in motion across the continent, including in Benin, Nigeria, and Kenya. Ivory Coast's world-leading cocoa growers, who produce 40% of the global supply, are also climbing aboard.
More and more young people are returning to the land and are interested in coming to us to use and request drones for their fields because they have realized that the real treasure lies in them.
Who can afford these mud corns is another question altogether. A pesticide spraying drone with a capacity of 20 liters can cost around $16,000. That is 9 times what the average farmer owning 1 hectare of cocoa trees would make in 6 months. To reduce this cost out of the reach of most farmers, a number of Ivorian enterprises offering equipment and technology for hire have sprung up. Thanks to drones, a job that would have taken 2 days now takes 10 minutes per hectare to complete for the cost of around $27. At the Digital Transformation Ministry, the innovation chief says the West African country plans to build a center for manufacturing state-of-the-art inventions and training farmers in their use.
They used to spend weeks searching for disease, but now you have a flying object, a drone, that flies in over the plantation and detects disease in a matter of minutes. They used to spray by hand for hours on end, but now they can cover a hectare in 5 minutes. It's like a game for them.
That would mean Ivorian businesses would no longer have to import their technology from abroad.
Or for our viewers on the DSTV platform, we now go live to the Presidential Banquet Hall in Abuja for the National Diaspora Day celebration. Our Network Africa continues with our Africa Tech young minds at work. They are getting their hands on with science, technology, innovation, and learning how to use artificial intelligence, AI, for good. And this is at the STEM Africa Fest. This year's theme, AI for Good, focuses on using technology to solve real-world problems.
It's all about creativity and innovation at the STEM Africa Fest, an annual event designed to inspire the next generation through science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. Organized by Niger Kids and STEM Mets, the fest brings together children, parents, and educators for a hands-on learning experience that encourages curiosity and problem solving. This year's theme, AI for Good, couldn't be more timely as artificial intelligence continues to shape our world, and this fest is showing kids how to use it to solve real-life problems.
Now we said the motto is for the what?
Through interactive activities, exhibitions, and competitions, participants are encouraged to think creatively and apply what they learn to real-world challenges.
Technology helps us in different ways in learning, doing our education purpose, and etc.
Technology is the science in which materials and tools are made to make human work easier. It teaches us how to make slime. And what is slime? Slime is relaxing, satisfying, and fun to play with.
So AI can be used for good because it can help people communicate with each other and teach other people new things. Like it can be used to educate people, and it can be used as an energy source like solar energy or nuclear energy.
But beyond the buzz and fun, there's a deeper mission, which is to prepare Africa's next generation for a tech-driven future.
If we want to be among the leaders in the world, these are the kind of initiatives we need because we are building the future of our technology capability. And when you are talking about technology, the first thing is about human capital. And building these children, making them interested, creating passion, and letting them see the opportunities in science and technology, it's the first step to take.
Part of the aim of the fest is to spark that eureka moment in these young minds. STEM Africa Fest is not just about showcasing technology, it's about nurturing potential, shaping young minds, and quietly building the skills that will define Africa's future.
It's more than just a one-day event. It's actually a gateway where we can prepare Africa's next generation with the skills that they need. This year, we've had over 3,000 participants be part of it, and they're going to be exposed to a lot of immersive learning. They're going to see coding, 3D printing, robotics. They're going to do hydroponics. They're going to learn so many things. And in the end, it's really about bridging that skills gap.
STEM Africa Fest has reached over 20,000 children, students, parents and educators across African countries like Nigeria, Ghana, Rwanda, Kenya, Zambia and the Gambia.
And as we end the program today, we want to inform you of a new and special tidbit on Network Africa that we call Did You Know? The program will be giving you fascinating and interesting facts about our continent, Africa. So our fun fact for today is, did you know that there are over 2,000 different languages spoken on the continent? But Arabic is the most spoken language in Africa, with about 150 million total speakers in the North African region. Well, second on that list is French, with 120 million total speakers in the West, Central and North African region. Third is Swahili, with 80 million total speakers in the East African region. Hausa is the fourth, with 70 million total speakers in the West African region. And coming in fifth place is Amharic, 57 million total speakers in Ethiopia. We'll expect more interesting facts on Network Africa. Thank you so much for watching this, where we draw the curtains for today and for the week. It's been a pleasure serving you. I'm Layo Olarinde. Have a lovely weekend.